Happy Pride Month! Let's talk about how Pride came to be because most people don't actually know the story. The Stonewall Uprising is so tied to gay pride in the United States that most people don't know that the gay rights movement in the US actually originated in Los Angeles. In fact, the earliest documented gay uprising in the US wasn't Stonewall in New York in 1969. It was at Cooper Donuts in downtown Los Angeles almost 10 years prior to that in 1958. In the 50s and 60s in LA and across the US, police were routinely busting gay bars. So much so that queer spaces had codes such as flickering lights to let same-sex couples know that if they were dancing, they needed to switch and dance with someone from the opposite sex since cops were outside. A popular gay club in Los Angeles in the 60s was the Black Cat Tavern in Silver Lake. LA peeps today probably know it as a coffee shop. But on New Year's Eve in 1966, there was a party at the Black Cat. And as everyone in the club was counting down to the new year and it became 1967, they all kissed to celebrate the new year, as you do. And immediately, undercover cops erupted out of every corner in the club and started beating and arresting people. And cops in uniform blocked the door so no one could get out. So after that night, the queer community in LA was outraged. I mean, the LAPD had beaten people so bad that they were hospitalized. And of course, the LAPD was like, we didn't do anything wrong. Those people were attacking us for no reason. And again, at this time, gay raids were super common. And typically people who were arrested would just settle out of court because they didn't want to be associated with the stigma of having gone to court. But for the first time, the group arrested at the Black Cat fought back by pleading not guilty and hiring lawyers and got ready to go to trial. At the same time, this attack had really unified the gay community in Los Angeles, and they were organizing demonstrations and rallies and protests against this police brutality that was happening in the queer community. So there was a trial for those arrested, and at the end of this 5-day trial, 6 out of the 7 defendants were convicted, and 2 of the defendants were forced to file as sex offenders for the rest of their lives just because they had kissed another man or was wearing a dress, some bullshit like that. The year prior, in 1966, LA created the first Pride organization. Pride stood for Personal Rights Through Defense and Education. And they also held the first gay parade in America. The Black Cat demonstration had inspired a Pride member, Richard Mitch, to turn the group's newsletter into a magazine, which was called the Los Angeles Advocate. It was people need to understand what's happening in LA. This is messed up. In 1969, it grew into the Advocate, which was the first national gay news magazine. So when the Stonewall Uprising happened in 1969, while most publications like the New York Times were covering it with condescending and harmful things to say about the queer community, Advocate covered it in a serious way and called it a watershed moment in gay history. So unlike the uprising at the Black Cat, the Stonewall Uprising was able to get widespread deserved recognition. This is why after the first march that celebrated Stonewall in 1970, which was called Christopher Street Liberation Day, leaders of the gay rights movement changed it to Pride as a nod to the movement's origins in LA and the impact that came from the Black Cat.